Hey, this is Matt Leone with One Up. I'm here with STIG ASMUSSEN, director of God of War 3, and we're going to play through the demo. So this is what we saw before, right? So kind of what's the backstory of what we're watching here?
Basically, the idea is that Kratos has been dealing with this sun god Helios, who's in his chariot right there for a little bit of time at this point in the game, and he knows that there's something that he can get from Helios that turns out it's his head, and we're going to see how beyond just Kratos and Helios, there's also this massive titan who's actually the titan of destruction, Perseus, and that's going to be revealed later on. Basically, the idea is that Helios and Perseus are going at it, and Kratos is kind of doing things behind the scenes. And this is one of those areas in the game where we're always like trying to like show that this war is going on between the gods and the titans. And this is one of those areas where it's more in the backdrop, even though there's one moment where Kratos kind of becomes involved with a little bit.
So we saw the fire bow there. It's now got its own meter. It's no longer attached to the magic, right? So you can kind of use it as much as you want.
Well, you can see if you use the firebow right here, you can see we've got this yellow meter, and it kind of depletes each time. And then we do a Halo-esque kind of like when you deplete it completely, boom, the whole thing charges up.
Do you worry that like players may be able to abuse that in one-on-one fights if they just keep their distance and just continually peck away at somebody?
As far as I'm concerned, we should make that weapon good enough that if players want to use nothing but the firebow, they can use it. Yeah. I mean, every single one of our weapons should be like that.
Okay. Okay, so here we're going to see the first example of riding on the harpy. You kind of annoy it to get it to come towards you.
Yeah. So you're on him for a limited period of time. Right there, you get 3 stabs and L1 circle to get on. And then here we're showing that you can actually go harpy to harpy. So the idea is that we could create these like pretty sizable gaps in the game, and it's just another way for Kratos to kind of traverse. Of course, he's doing it like a really brutal nature, that fits within his personality.
So I wanted to ask you also about, we saw Kratos in Soul Calibur PSP today. How did that come about? We saw it at the Namco booth.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
We were actually approached by them, and our team is huge fighting game fans and huge Soul Calibur fans, and it was pretty easy. I mean, it was like, hell yeah. So we've been working with them over the last few months, and what kind of like how to make sure that Kratos' personality comes across right in the game. Been looking at studying their animations and his moves very closely, and like they've done a fantastic job of kind of capturing Kratos and putting him into the Soul Calibur world. We're really happy with the work that they've done so far. The character models, probably just as good, if not better, than the one that we saw in God of War 2. So because they basically started with that and they started working on top of it. So,
is it true like there were rumors about Kratos being in Soul Calibur 4? Was that under consideration at one point?
I would have loved it. I mean, I don't know that it was. I mean, it's something that I stated. I think it would be really cool, but
you weren't in charge at that point.
No.
Okay. So also notable at the press conference, the rumor of a new PSP game wasn't there.
I don't know where that rumor came from.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know anything about that rumor.
All right. Will you deny that there is a new PSP game?
I will deny that there's a new PSP game, but I will say I really hope that something like that would be done, because we saw how well that worked out before.
There's nothing in production right now.
No.
Cool. All right, so now we're seeing first kind of mini boss.
Yeah, the Centaur. I don't know if I'd necessarily call him a mini boss. He's basically the commander. Right now in this demo, we have him shouting out one move, and the guys will basically, when he comes out, they'll get a little bit more aggressive. They'll start to do this dogpile attack. Now, there's several other moves that we can attach to him. So later on in the game, we'll start layering new commands on top of him. So he's not quite as, the next guy we're going to see, I'd say, is more of a mini boss, but he's not quite as hard as a mini boss would be. But when you team him up with like 20 grunts, it becomes a mini boss,
Yeah. So, but when he's around, they fight smarter, right?
Yes.
So what do we mean by smarter?
Well, basically, we start to apply new moves to them once he gets in the area. New moves that are based on orders that he's calling out. So like I said, right now we have one that is a kind of charge, and then everybody kind of swarms around you wherever you are on the battlefield. But we can also have him like call out orders to have archers fire at you, have shield grunts kind of like take a defensive posture around him. We have all that stuff working. It's not in the game in this demo at this point, but
this demo has 2 weapons. It has your blades, and then it has the cestus.
Right.
And I believe that PlayStation Official Magazine confirmed there would be 4 weapons in the final game. Is that official now?
I think that's officially unofficial. That's something that's one of those things. It's like at that day it might have been 4 weapons. I might have slipped up when I said something there at the time, but for the final game, we might. What is considered a weapon to us and what is considered a weapon to the player are 2 different things.
Okay.
For example, the firebow is not considered a weapon to us.
Right.
So I would say that there's going to definitely be more than 4 weapons in the game. There's going to be a lot more than 4 weapons in the game.
Maybe 4 or roughly 4 default kind of weapons.
No, I wouldn't say they're default weapons either.
Okay. But will we see other...
sorry if I'm being guarded on this.
No. It's interesting. Will we see other items? I think that's the term that you guys are using for like the firebow, right? It's items?
Yeah, items are right now the items that we have in here are the firebow and the Helios head, and they're definitely going to be more items. Okay. So that's where I'm saying things get kind of gray. Is our items work as weapons as well. Yeah. Like the firebow, I want it to be a formidable weapon, and it really is. That's all it is. Yeah. So, and everything is switchable. You know, whenever you want, you can switch between the weapons.
Okay. Yeah. Like I noticed you can use the Helios head and the firebow basically interchangeably whenever you want.
Yep.
All right. So what's happening here? We are seeing a new enemy that I don't think has been seen in trailers yet.
Yeah. So this is the Chimera, and we're using the cestus against them right now, which are the big gauntlets. And the idea with this creature is half goat, half snake, half lion, and it actually fights in different stances. So as the fight progresses, first we're fighting the snake here, and we can actually see we just defeated that portion of him, and then he changes stances and goes into the lion stance, and its tactics change at that point. So you have to defeat all 3 of them in order to take him down, and he's a tough enemy. He's a tough fight. I definitely say right now, he's tuned well with the cestus. This is one of those instances where like we might make some weapons a little bit expose things with certain characters with certain type of weapons. So the player will have to kind of figure out which weapons are better against different types of enemies. That's the case it is right now, but you know, with all these things, we do so much play testing. Like I was talking to you earlier about the Harpy and how much we've changed the Harpy in the last month. That's why when things come up, it's like, well, how many weapons are you going to have, or how many, what weapon is best to use against this kind of character? I could say something right now, but we could literally change it 2 weeks before the game ships.
Get an answer in February.
What was that?
We'll get an answer in February, basically.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I basically don't like confirming things that you know, from my perspective, nothing is done until the product is shipped. So,
hate to impress right now.
I'll tell you for sure, we're gonna have the blades in God of War 3.
There you go.